Hello and welcome to Chapter 5. This is Miss Moreland. We're going to be working on slope and rate of change today. So you want to pause the video and write down a shortened versions of these statements you can. I would go find rate of change, find slope, and use the slope formula. Okay? So we're going to start with just the basics of slope. Many of you are going to think this is a review. So slope, you should know from your middle school, is rise over run. Right? So when we're talking about rise over run, that's the change in y over the change in x. And then you should recall you also need some other piece of a line, which is called the y-intercept, and that's where it crosses the y-axis. Okay, so now we're going to draw three lines on our paper. One with positive slope, that's uphill. One with negative slope, that's downhill. We're going to draw four lines. One with zero slope, that's straight across. It's not sloping at all. It's a flat hill. And undefined means it's an impossible hill to climb, so it's going straight up and down. Recall from last chapter, that's an x equals line, and this red one is a y equals line. All right, so we're going to start by finding the slope and y-intercept of each one of these lines. So the first one we're going to talk about is this straight across one. We just learned that the slope is 0. And the y-intercept is, looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're going to call it 6. I should have put that line up a little more. We're going to call it 6. Right, we're going to move on to the green line because that's the next easiest. We just learned that the slope is undefined. It's an x equals line, remember? And it does not have a y-intercept because it won't cross it. It just crosses the x at 8. So the y-intercept, there is none. It will never cross the y-intercept. Now we'll look at the pink line. It looks like the y-intercept we'll start with is easier, is 3. And we'll look at the slope. Slope, I'm going to use that point, and it looks like that point. So I go up 2, that's my rise, over 1, that's my run. So my slope is 2 over 1, which is just the same thing as 2. And then we look down here at this blue line. The y-intercept is right there. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So my y-intercept is negative 6. And slope, and use that point, and it looks like this point. And be careful with this one. We automatically know it's going to have negatives. So we go rise up 1, and we run over 3. 1, 2, 3. And we had to go left, so we're going to call that negative 3. So it's 1 over negative 3, and you could also write that as negative 1/3. Notice it doesn't matter what point you go from. You could do this, and you could go over 3, but then you would be going down 1, and you would get the negative there. So it doesn't matter what order you go in. So pause the video, see if you can find the slope of these 4 lines. Right, so I'm going to give you the answers. The green line has a y-intercept of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oops. And the slope is up 2 over 1. So 2 over 1. The red line has a y-intercept of positive 1 and a slope of, use that point right there, up 3 and negative 2. So it has a slope of negative 3 over 2. The pink line has a y-intercept of negative 1 and the slope is, use that point, and I'm going to use this point way over here, up 1 and over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So negative 1/7. And the last one is the blue line, and that one's the easiest. It has a slope of 0 and a y-intercept of negative 4. All right, so now that we found slope from a graph, we're going to talk about finding slope from just 2 ordered pairs. So let's say I have 2 ordered pairs, x1, y1, and x2, y2. The slope formula, remember, is the change in y over the change in x, or the rise over the run. So slope formula is you subtract your y's, so y2 minus y1, that's the change in y, over x2 minus x1. This is our slope, and we usually call slope abbreviated by m, so m equals. So we're going to do a couple of examples. All right, so this first one says find the slope that contains lines 2, 5, or the tank contains the points 2, 5, and 8, 1. So we could graph these, so 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 8, 1, 2. And we could find the slope of that just by using our line. But we're going to find the slope using the formula. So I'm going to leave my points x1, y1, x2, y2, and I'm going to subtract this first. So 1 minus 5 over 8 minus 2. So 1 minus 5 is negative 4. 8 minus 2 is 6. Please always simplify, so that simplifies to negative 2/3. Next one. Find the slope between 5, negative 7, and 6, negative 4. Again, we could graph those, but I'm going to skip the graph, and I'm going to do x1, y1, x2, y2. Whoops, that's supposed to be a 2. And I'm going to take negative 4 minus 7. So negative 4 minus a negative 7 over 6 minus 5. Notice that two negatives in a row are going to turn to a positive. So negative 4 plus 7 is a positive 3. And 6 minus 5 is 1. So my slope is 3. Right, I want you to pause the video and try these two on your own. All right, check your answers. You should have gotten 5 for the first one and 1/2 for the second one if you simplified. So don't forget it's y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Now this example, the next one is not on your notes. You don't need to write it down. But sometimes in your homework you're going to be given a table. You can choose any 2 points you want. So you could choose these two and these two. Or you could choose this one and this one if you wanted to. It doesn't matter. And then write them as an ordered pair. So if I choose the first two, I can get the slope between those by doing 3 minus 5 over negative 1 minus negative 2. Remember, two negatives turn into a positive. Watch that. 3 minus 5 is negative 2. Negative 1 plus 1 is, negative 1 plus 2 is 1. So that would be my slope. Now watch if I choose these 2 points. The 1, negative 1 and the negative 1, 3. Let's see if I get the same slope. So I'm going to take 3 minus negative 1 over negative 1 minus 1. Turns into a positive, that's 4. And negative 1 minus 1 is negative 2. I still get a slope of negative 2. So it does not matter which 2 points you choose, as long as these are points on a line. This last example we're going to do, this problem we're going to be dealing with rate of change. So we're going to find the rate of change between each one of these points. Now this doesn't say that it's on a line. And so they want us to find during which time interval did the balance decrease at the greatest time. So I'm going to find from 1 to 6 days. So days is my x, balance is my y. So I'm going to take 285 minus 550 over 6 minus 1. So when I take 285 minus 550, I get negative 265. So this last problem I'm talking about rate of change, and this shows the balance of a bank account over days, x, and balance, y. So we're going to have to find the rate of change between each set of days to find when the balance decreases at the greatest rate. Okay? So we go from 1 to 6 first. We find the slope. So 285 minus 550 over 6 minus 1. And that gives me negative 265 over 5. And that simplifies to negative 53 over 1. And what this means is it's $53 per 1 day over that interval. So that means they spent, on average, $53 per day between days 1 and day 6. So we're going to find the rate of change between the next set of points, 6 and 16. So I'm going to do 210 minus 285 over 16 minus 6, which gives me negative 75 over 10. Which equals negative $7.5 per 1 day. Right, and the last two I'm going to find between days 16 and days 22. So I'm going to do it up here. That's going to be 210 minus 210 over 22 minus 16. And notice this one has a 0 over 6, which simplifies to just $0 per 1 day. So that's when they probably spent the least. And now we have to check the last one. 22 days to 30 days. I'm going to do that over here. So I get 175 minus 210 over 30 minus 22, which gives me negative 35 over 8, which simplifies to approximately $4.38 per 1 day. So if we go back to the original question that asked us, during which time interval did it decrease the greatest rate? And that would be from days 1 to 6, because that was the biggest one of $53 per day. If they asked us which one was the smallest, it would be days 16 and 22, because they spent $0 per 1 day. All right, have fun watching the video. I hope this will get better with my writing. See you tomorrow.